it would appear to all intents and purposes that we could be in the final stretch as far as the reign of David Sullivan as the majority shareholder at West Ham United is concerned. By the time this goes out, the protest march will have already taken place, and I will be there, and I hope that you are as well, dear viewer. Anyway, let's get stuck into my thoughts. Comments in the section below. There may be things that I say that you agree with. There may be things that I say that you disagree with. That's just the nature of the beast. I can only speak for me. Please also don't forget to drop a like on the stream. That really helps. If you've got a hype, you've got free a week, I'm told. They probably help, I don't know, but chuck one on if you don't mind. And don't forget, you've got the subscribe button at the bottom. It doesn't cost you anything to subscribe, and we don't have your data sensitive information. It just helps to grow the channel into something a little bit bigger than it is at the minute. Really would appreciate your support on all those things, guys. And maybe even share this to your social media platforms. Okay, so as I say, I'm recording this on Saturday morning's dog walk. By the time this goes out, I'm probably going to kick this out maybe in the evening on Saturday, possibly Sunday morning. I don't know yet. Depends upon how the day unfolds and what my commitments are. But look, we've had 15 years of the current regime. Obviously, when they came in 15 years ago, we was on our knees. The Icelandic banking crisis had basically rendered our then owner to have the equivalent fortune of a down and out drunk on a park bench, drinking terps out of a brown paper bag. And we needed to find a new owner, pretty sharpish. Enter David Sullivan, David Gold, Karen Brady, to come to West Ham's rescue, like noble knights coming out of the mist to save the day. Well, one of their first actions, very early on, was to dispense with the services of Gianfranco Zola. Now, although he was a Chelsea legend, I think he tried to play football the right way and fundamentally was a decent guy. He was also hamstrung by the fact that the previous owner basically didn't have two brass farthings to rub together. So probably a lot of the squad that he'd composed probably wasn't strong enough, and he had to rely quite heavily on players from the youth academy, possibly before they were ready, but probably didn't have much choice in a lot of ways. Anyway, one of the first things they did was to jettison Zola and bring in that superstar manager called Avram Grant, who just managed to take Portsmouth, who were a Premier League club, to the heady heights of the Championship. Anyway, so he was the first appointment. It didn't work out too well. We got relegated. He was sacked. And we found ourselves in the Championship. Allardyce comes in to save the day, gets us promoted, stabilises us in the Premier League, etc., etc. All well and good. All well and good. But behind the scenes, and I've always wondered whether this was really the motivation behind the fact that they came in, because and I do believe that David Gold was a West Ham fan, and I've got no problem with that, and I don't think that all his decisions were bang on, because you never do in life. But David Sullivan, I think, if you know where to look, you'll find it. There's a bit of film footage where he actually admits he's a Cardiff City fan. So he's not a West Ham fan. I'm sure he's got an affinity for West Ham. I'm sure he's got a soft spot for West Ham. He's lived in the Essex area for many, many years, from what I understand. So I'm sure that he's always had a soft spot for us. But I'm not entirely convinced by the statement that he's a West Ham fan, because I've heard him actually say himself he's a Cardiff City fan. Anyway, so I believe that a lot of the motivation behind them coming in wasn't some benevolent act to save their childhood club. I think it was purely a business decision, and I think it probably centred about the fact that we was going to get the London Stadium. Now, it should be remembered, because a lot of people do miss this point, that when we originally got the London Stadium, we were going to own it. But then when both Daniel Levy and Barry Hearn, the head honchos of Tottenham Hotspur and Leyton Orient respectively, started making some noises, it then Boris Johnson then made the decision that, hold on, we need to start this process again and might need to sort of go down a different route. We ended up getting the stadium again, this time on a lease arrangement. But I think that it was, because don't forget, we already had the Olympics that was earmarked. We won the Olympics in 2005, which is 5 years before Gold and Sullivan walked in to Upton Park. And I think that a lot of the reason that they even bothered was purely because of that was the motivation. They wanted to get their hooks some way, somehow into the London Stadium. I think it was a bit of a property sort of deal, really. And they were playing the long game. I think we was just the convenient leverage to achieve that. But anyway, so we've had 15 years, and they've obviously put this statement out, and we obviously went through it with James from E20 Zone TV. Give them a subscribe, please. And also Nick from Claret and Booze. Also give them a subscribe, please. And we've all picked through it, and it's got more holes than a Swiss cheese, quite honestly. There's just so many statements in there that are just completely ridiculous, and I can't remember them all off the top of my head, but things along the lines of, and I'm probably going to use a little bit of humour just for artistic purposes, but whatever, bear with me. You know, all this nonsense about we've spent 25 trillion on players in 2 years or whatever it is. If you know where to look for the information, you can very quickly find out with a calculator, spreadsheet, whatever. You can very quickly find out that the numbers that they've kicked out, where they say, oh, this is what we've spent, it's nonsense. It's absolutely, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. I'm sorry. So straight away you look at that and you go, well, if you're actually going to put out a statement in defence of yourselves, because you know of all the protests that are going on, the protest today against Crystal Palace, the boycott against Brentford, even sort of things like, oh, we might get Slaven Bilic back as the first team manager. That's just window dressing. That's just a political move to try and sort of placate a section of the fan base. It's complete nonsense. You know, if you're going to lie in a statement like that to such a magnitude, what else are you lying about? What else are you trying to keep from us? What else is going on behind the surface that we just don't know about yet? Other things like, oh, we've spent millions on the training facilities. I don't know if any of you guys watching this have ever been there. Rush Green is an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment. I know some people might think that we're sort of making a song and dance and trying to sort of make it look. Honestly, it is. There are porta cabins there. There are offices and the bits where they do the interviews and tea rooms and all that. And they're porta cabins. They're not sort of proper structures. They're porta cabins like we had at Upton Park when we had the. Do you remember the shop? We had porta cabins there. I reckon it's just them. They've just sort of like put a bit of Dulugs on it. Tight asses. You know, or other things like, oh, and Mike covered this on his video the other day. And brilliant. Well done, Mike. It's a great contribution to the channel, and you'll be popping up a lot more if I've got anything to do with it. And I have, because I basically run the fucking channel. Anyway, you know, TIFOs. Oh, we're engaging with the fans about TIFOs. Mate, I don't lie awake at night worrying about the plight of West Ham United not having enough TIFOs in the ground. Do me a favour. Really? It's a glorified flag. I can get them down the bloody corner shop or down the market or something. A bloody flag. Christ's sakes, I don't need some virtually octogenarian multi-millionaire to get a flag for me. I can do that quite capably myself, thank you very much. I'm nearly 50 years of age. I know I don't look it. Shut it. Anyway, just like I say, the statement is just complete hogwash. Absolute nonsense. I mean, I'll give this to Sullivan. He should have been a politician, because I've never heard so much bollocks in all my life. Anyway, the point about it is this, okay? This is their statement, and they If you read it and read between the lines, you can quite clearly see these guys are rattled. Now's the time to put pressure on. And as I say, I'm recording this before the protest. By the time this goes out, due to my time constraints today, it will be after the protest. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we don't turn up and we're not standing there looking around and saying, well, where's everybody else? We need everybody to mobilise. We need everybody that is in a position, even if they don't go to the games. And just to be clear, Nick from Claret and Booze, who I'm meeting up with later today, we're going out for a bit of pie and mash over at Kelly's on the Roman. Nick don't go to the games, but Nick is getting up off of his arse for something that he believes in, and he's going to stand up to be counted. He's going to be there. He's going to add his weight. He's going to put his shoulder to the wheel for West Ham United, for the club. And generations of support is yet to come. Because I don't think any of us want our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids to look back at our generation, look at the fact that West Ham United, either as we know it or knew it, or at all, one day might not be there, and look at our generation and say, well, what did you do to try and stop it? What did you do when push came to shove to try and stop that outcome? What did you do? Oh, I just sat and watched it unfold. I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think that's right. So whether you're going to the game today or not, I hope that you join the protest if you're able to do so. I do understand that there are going to be some people that legitimately cannot be there. Health reasons, or you're the other side of the world, or whatever. Life just won't allow it to happen. That's fine. That's fine. But if your Saturday afternoon and you're a West Ham fan, and your Saturday afternoon is basically going to involve you sitting in the garden or doing the decorating or all of those mundane things of life, if you're a West Ham fan and you have the ability to be there today, then I think you owe it to not just yourself, not just your fellow fan, but the generations of West Ham fans that are yet to draw breath. You owe it to them to be there today. And the boycott against Brentford. You owe it to them to give up your ticket that you've probably paid for. I understand that. I've got a season ticket, and I'm walking away from that particular game because it's in the bigger picture, it's the right thing to do. This is put up or shut up time. This is where we need bullshit to walk. This is where we need to really sort of capitalise. They are panicking. This is not the time for the pressure to be eased. Quite the reverse. They're on the ground. And when they're on the ground, we need to put our boot on their neck and not let them up. We need to keep this pressure on. And as I say, I implore you again, if you've got any thought that this regime has served its purpose, and look, once upon a time they stabilised us, and for that period of time I'm grateful, but I do ultimately wonder whether their motivation was really the London Stadium property grab. I don't know, but I just look and say a lot of their decisions just don't make sense to me. They just don't. I mean, look at the statement again, just to sort of row back and have another look at that. They're basically turning around and saying, oh, well, you do know this is our second longest tenure as a top flight club. Well, okay, yes, we do note that, but there have been multiple occasions, let's have it right, where we've come very close to a different outcome and possibly going down. And okay, it didn't happen. So, fair enough. Oh, but you didn't, you've qualified for Europe 3 times on the bounce. Now, this is a point that a lot of people have made. Mike made it the other day. I've heard other people make it. It's not like years ago when European football was the preserve of the league champions, the FA Cup winners, the League Cup winners, and I think the runners-up as well. So you'd probably have 4 teams in total qualifying for Europe at any given time. Now how many do you get? 8? You can conceivably have 8 teams. There's 20 teams in the Premier League. Do the maths. There's, pro rata, there's more teams qualifying for Europe now than ever. And one of those seasons, was in a competition that when they took over didn't exist, the Conference League. And great, we won it, but let's be completely honest, when you look at the teams that were involved in that competition that year, I think getting to the final was a minimum expectation. Winning it, brilliant, fantastic, one of the best days of my life. I've got to be careful what I say because my wife's standing just there. If I'd have said it was the best day of my life, she'd have killed me. Anyway. But again, that was a point in time where we all know what should have happened. Look, David Moyes done fantastically for us. I will always be grateful to that man. And I will have no problem whenever West Ham play a team that is managed by David Moyes. I will have no problem showing my gratitude and giving him a good round of applause and thanking him for what he did. Because he did magnificently. Saved us from relegation twice. Qualified us for Europe 3 seasons in a row, as I mentioned earlier. Won us our first trophy in 43 years, which was a European trophy to boot. Magnificent. But for a lot of the last 2 years, football was not great to watch. And in that last year, we shipped an awful lot of goals. The defensive football wasn't very good defensively. But when he lifted that European trophy, he had 1 year left on his contract. And I think most people would have probably said, there's 2 things really that should happen here. We should do what Tottenham subsequently did with Ange when he lifted the Europa League and said, look mate, we really do appreciate the fact that you've lifted a bit of silverware. It's absolutely magnificent. But the fact of the matter is that your bread and butter is the Premier League. And in the Premier League, we just haven't been good enough. We've been getting beat left, right and centre. So this we need to make a change. That's one of the scenarios that should have happened to David Moyes in the wake of the Conference League win. The other is, we should have backed him. I'm not saying I would have backed him, but this is the other option. This is what should have happened. We should have said, David, magnificent. We won our first trophy in 43 years. One of the best nights in the club's history. Absolutely fantastic. I think Winnie's going to bark in a sec, because she just barks at everybody. So, oh no, she didn't. She left the lady alone. She has this tendency just to bark at people. Anyway, we should have sort of said, David, magnificent. We're going to back you to the hilt. We're going to give you a 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, whatever contract. We're going to give you this great big treasure chest to go out and buy the players that you want. You can mould this club in your image. And what did we do? We did neither. We said, he's got a year left on his contract. Well, let's see how this plays out then, shall we? And then, aligned with that, so the fact that he had 12 months left on his contract probably didn't give him an awful lot of confidence in how the hierarchy viewed him. And what did we do? We go and install a director of football in Tim Stuyton to deal with transfers. Now, consider this, David Moyes is an old school football manager. And he was the guy that would deal with transfers all his career. And some would work, some wouldn't. But there was no way at all, when Tim Stuyton came in, that was ever going to end well for anyone. He came in and within a few months he's banned from Rush Green. He doesn't want to, David Moyes did not want it to have anything to do with first team affairs. Fantastic. Also in that season, as the contract is winding down, now I was there at the Emirates when we went there just after Christmas and we beat them 2-0. How, to this day, I still do not know, because we got absolutely battered that night and won 2-0. Strange game, but it was great result. Not a great game for us because we was bricking it for most of it. But by all accounts, David Moyes was offered a contract at that point. Obviously, he took the decision not to sign it at that moment. That's on him. And we all know how it unfolded from then. But even the Stighton appointment, I mean, if you're going to install a director of football who basically is going to shape the long-term vision of a club, and this will be a constant. So when you're changing managers, and obviously the different managers will have different ideas, different philosophies, this, that and the other, but the director of football will be the constant, and he will be the guy that will select and cultivate players from wherever. And it's all right, we just... Oh, there you go. She's barking. She can be a little bit antisocial. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, anyway, Tim Stighton should have been here for the long haul. I think when you install a director of football, you need to have them there for about 3 to 5 years minimum. You need to commit to that plan, and we committed to it for 18 months. It's just so much about the regime that it's just, oh yeah, we'll do this, and then 5 minutes later, oh yeah, no, let's move direction again, and we're just lurching from one disaster to another. Even the replacement of David Moyes, let's have it right, was basically we're getting a manager that's completely different stylistically to the previous incumbent. And I understand why they did it, because obviously the style of football that David Moyes employed was starting to grate on the fans. But the players that we had weren't suited, which meant we had to do an awful lot of business. But you had 3 people doing the business. Lopetegui picked a couple of players, Stighton picked a couple of players, Sullivan picked a couple of players. You had this mishmash of players. It just didn't work. I actually feel a bit sorry for Lopetegui in a way, because obviously he had what was going on with his dad in the background. He's managing a Premier League club. It didn't start off too well. He's got a situation at home with his old man. His old man passed away. And the fans were on his back. And we was all saying he's one of the worst West Ham managers in our history. We've actually managed to replace him with someone that statistically at this precise moment in time is actually worse. Cheers, mate. You got to have a little bit of fun. Anyway, so we've now got a manager that is worse than the guy he replaced. Brilliant. And now there's all sorts of managers being linked. I've done videos about it. Gonzo's done videos about it. Nick's done videos about it. Nick Hawkins has done videos about it. Everybody's done videos about all the different names we've been linked with. We've been linked with Slaven. We've been linked with Nuno. We've been linked with Gary O'Neill. We have been linked with any out-of-work manager going. I am surprised we haven't been linked with Neil Warnock or Harry Redknapp or, I don't know, Roy Hodgson, any of them. I'm really surprised. But the point is that I think the people that are running this club, just maybe they knew what they were doing once upon a time. I'm not saying that it's been crap every single moment of their 15-year tenure. There have been little bright spots, and for those we are thankful. But I just think that now you just see certain things that are going on, and for me the big one is the match day atmosphere, which has just got worse and worse and worse over the years. The amount of times, and I'm up in the gods, I'm as far back as you can get in block 203, and it is incredible. I have developed a spider sense to identify people that are not West Ham fans, despite the fact they might not be wearing colours. I just know they are not fans of the club. One of the real big giveaways is the fact that when everybody's standing up and bellowing out bubbles, they're just standing there mute. Bit of a giveaway. They're there with their 50-50 scarves. They're there with their buckets of popcorn. They're not joining in with the songs. They're not cheering. They're not clapping. They're just, it's like they're at the theatre. And there's more and more of them that are coming. And the club don't care, because all the club see is that they're handing over their 50, 60, 70, 80 quid, whatever, you know, they're a customer the same as me. Well, they're not really, because I try to add something to the atmosphere. I try to stand up. I try to sing. I try to get a chant going, and I don't get anything from any of the people around me most of the time. They sort of look at me as if to go, mate, I'm trying to watch the football. Do you mind being quiet, please? We're not at the theatre, you know. You know, this isn't the Dominion or wherever. Prince Albert Theatre. What are you on about? It's a game of football. There's supposed to be 62,500 fans in here, most of which being West Ham fans, and it just strikes me that other than coming out singing Bubbles, a lot of the people in the ground don't know any of the songs and don't join in. And that's something that's getting worse season on season. More and more of the hardcore fans, and I wrestled with it this season as to whether to get a season ticket, more and more of the hardcore fans are walking away. And this is why this is so important. This is why this protest movement, the march today, as I say, this will go out tomorrow, so by then it will already be in the history books. The boycott against Brentford, this is why it's so vitally important. We've got an opportunity that has presented itself where we need to make our feelings abundantly clear to those in charge. I'm sure they are abundantly clear, but they're choosing not to listen. Well, we need to make them listen. And today, and against Brentford, if we stand firm and if we do what we need to do, and I say again, don't just think about you. Don't just for the Brentford game. Don't just sit there and go, oh, well, I've paid for the ticket. And don't relist your ticket either, because that defeats the object. You're just giving them another opportunity to fill that seat. We need to embarrass them. We need to embarrass them in front of the world. We need to embarrass them. We need to force them to look in the mirror. We need to force them to realise that, listen, you're not going to take the piss out of us anymore. We're mobilised. We're awake. We're together. We're galvanised. And together, united, we're an unstoppable force. But we need to be united. We need to come together. Like I say, the march. We need to all turn up today, even if you don't go to the game. If you've got the ability to be there, be there. And as I say, the boycott, you need to stay away. You need to not relist your ticket. You need to not give it away. You need to just take that one on the chin. It won't be every match, but it's for the greater good. And as I say, if you don't want to be looked back in history by your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, looking back at our generation and saying, well, what did you do? What did you do to try and stop what happened around that point in history? What did you do to contribute to a movement that was going to prevent that outcome? What did you do? And if you want to be able to glance to the floor shamefacedly and mumble under your breath that what you did was absolutely fuck all and you watched it unfold, be my guest. Be my guest. But that's just me. I'm just getting my musings out there. And as I say, not everybody will agree with what I've just said in this last nearly 29 minutes as I record this. Not everybody will agree with me. And that's absolutely fine. But I think there will be an awful lot of people that will watch this, that this will strike a chord with. And there'll hopefully be quite a lot of comments that are in the section below that I can get stuck into. Anyway, that's me. Don't forget to drop a like on the stream. Don't forget to give us a hype if you've got one spare. Don't forget maybe even to share this content onto your social media platforms. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. As I say, I don't get any of your data sensitive information. It don't cost you anything. It just helps grow the channel into something bigger than what it is. But yeah, that's me. I'm going to disappear now. Bit of a longer dog walk video than normal, but I think it was important to get these thoughts out there. Anyway, you look after yourselves, guys. Stay safe. Come on, you irons.